Deletors. Let's get into it. Starter, Lucci. Lucci's a great Deletor starter. For grade 3s we play 4 Screening Deletor Yidoga, 4 Greyon, and 1 Greydor. And so that's we'll start off with Yidoga, and basically his effect is when placed on Ven, when placed, do note it's a when placed, which is pretty sad, but when placed, counterblast 1, discard 1 card from your hand and delete your opponent's Vanguard. And so deleting is basically the main point of this deck. It should be pretty obvious. But interestingly enough, he has a rearguard effect, which is when placed, Soul Blast 1, and your opponent cannot turn deleted cards face up during his or her next end phase. So basically, Omega delete, but if they ride over the next turn, like you use this, you basically just Soul Blast for nothing. But it is still quite nice pressure, and then Deletors don't really use that much of a Soul Blast. It's like Deletors isn't so Soul Blast heavy like the other Link Joker archetypes. And so the first effect is what you mainly want to use him for, but his discard one can be pretty hefty at times, and so you do want to note that. So like you would want to go for him for your first ride, but I would also recommend our next grade 3, which is basically Docking Deletor Greyon. And so his effect is basically Counterblast 2, act Counterblast 2, and then delete your opponent's Vanguard. It's really simple. That's all. Which the good thing about him is that you can literally just stay on him, and then Counterblast 2, delete next turn, don't need to ride out, Counterblast 2, delete again. But you have to be on 4 damage, which is already a red flag in Deletors, because once you have 4 damage, your opponent can very easily rush you, because Deletors, their hand sucks. Like your hand, when you're playing this deck, your hand literally just sucks so bad. And so like this is basically just what you want to go for if you really can't go with Yidoga. And so yeah, or what you can literally do is just ride him first, and next turn you ride Yidoga, or next turn you ride Greydor, which we will get into very soon. But let's talk about his second skill, which is a on-hit effect. Auto on Ven, when its attack hits a Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, bind it face up. Now this has to be a Vanguard. I mean, like, why would it not be a Vanguard? Because you would literally just delete their Vanguard. But in the case that their Vanguard is not deleted, you can still use his second effect just to try to pressure them. And again, your Soul Blast is pretty. You don't really use much Soul Blast in Deletors, so you can afford to just snipe one. Next, Waving Deletor Greydor. This is your second ride. You don't want this to be your first ride, and you get into the skill, and you'll know why we don't want to use him as a first ride, even though he's pretty good. I guess it's pretty good as a first ride, but it's a bit wasted. So you want to go into these guys for first ride. And let's take a look at his first skill first. Continuous on Ven. Your opponent's rearguards cannot move to other rearguard circles. So RIP Aqua Force, and then your opponent cannot like move up and down, which is pretty nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice because like their rearguards just become extra stagnant at this point, like their movement. And so yeah, that's something I forget very easily. So you do want to remember this continuous skill. Now the second effect is the one you want to run him for. Auto on Ven, when placed, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, bind it face down. If you wrote a grade 3, delete your opponent's Vanguard and he +1 crit. And so you need to ride a grade 3. He doesn't need a grade 3 in Soul. You need to ride it literally. So like on first ride, you're probably gonna tear up if you ride him first. You're literally just gonna Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and just kill, which you can literally just Soul Blast for it right here. And yeah, his 1 crit is very pressuring. It does a lot of pressure. I guess you could call it. You could call him a finisher, but it's not really a finisher. It's just there so that your opponent will just waste loads of hand cards. And usually in this deck, I will go for Force. Oops. Usually in this deck, I will go for Force 1 instead of Force 2. and the reason being that you need power. If you don't have power, your like cards like Greydor with hit pressure wouldn't really work out. I guess the crit is hit pressure, but you only really want to go with Force 2 when, I don't know, you really feel like you can just try to rush them with 2 critness power, Force 2 power. But Force 1 is still very ideal in this deck. Yeah, up against Deletor, mirror match, Force 1, go with Force 1, don't go with Force 2. I played against a guy, he used Force 2, I used Force 1, I beat the shit out of him. And so yeah, go with Force 1 in this deck. I mean, you can go with Force 2, but it's just Force 1 is better, so like 2 crit, 23 is nice, especially if you have Given, it's going to be extra punishing. And so 2 crit, 23 is very pressuring. That's what I'm trying to say. That's our 9 grade 3 lineup right there. Next for our grade 2, we play 4 Blast Monk of the Thundering Foot. And his effect is basically when he attacks a Vanguard, Vanguard or rear, auto, counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, bind it face down. If you choose a grade 2 or greater card, soul charge 1. And so this is one of the reasons why I guess you could say Deletors is not so heavy, because with this guy around you can literally just every turn soul charge, which is nice. And like you literally don't really use a lot of Soul Blast. Like so far in our grade 3s, only like all of them use Soul Blast, but then this only if it hits. This we play 1 off, unless you really want to play 2 of them, maybe it's more Soul Blast heavy. And this, you're not gonna use it like you're literally not gonna use it like 90% of the time, unless you really like you're up against like a clan that use 4 grade 3s. Then yeah, Blast Monk is very good because he's basically like your main, the main guy that like binds cards. So yes, must play him. You can play the promo card. I have no idea what's the name, but I do know it's coming out in the Clan Selection Volume 2, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, it's coming out there, and I don't think you want to really replace Blast Monk with her. It's a her, right? Yeah, I think it's a her. However, I think you do want to replace Gaily, or maybe what we're going to be playing, which is the 10k Geo with her. But we'll get into that later. But for now, he's a must need in all Deletor decks. He's really, really good. Next, we play 2 Given. This is probably the star of the deck, but I can't say that because like there are some times where you literally just want to skip out on Given, because if you use Given, you will literally die to your opponent. Like usually, like my biggest hand size after using Given is literally 5 or 6. Yeah, that's all. There's no way you can end up with an 8 card hand after Given. There's just no way. And then like the least I have, like the least hand size I've gone after using Given is literally 0. And so yes, you can literally make yourself go from 6 rear guards and hand to 0. I mean, let's just go into its effect. At the end of the battle, it attacked. If your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, so you need it to be deleted, put a total of 6 cards from your hand and rear guards into your drop zone. Stand your Van and minus on drive until the end of the turn. So I take it back. You will end up with like 1 hand card left because you do have your drive checks from your grade 3. However, like this is literally just killing yourself. If you cannot finish your opponent with a Given, I don't think you should activate him. However, you do like sometimes you do literally just want to go into Given on like your first grade 3 turns just to get your opponent's hand size go down by quite a lot, or just bring them to 5 damage. Okay, I guess you could say it's a red button. Yeah, I'll just call it a red button. Yes, Given is just a red button. But it's a nice addition to the deck though. And so if you don't want to play Given, you can play other cards that I will get into later at the video. Next we play 3 Gaily. His effect is basically, his first effect actually is auto on rear. When placed, if you have more rear guards than your opponent, he pluses 4k until the end of the turn. And the second effect is auto on Van or rear, so you can use this during your second turn, try to pressure them. When its attack hits a Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and bind it face down. So yeah, you can bind rear guards face down from turn 2, which is really nice. And his second part of his effect is basically, if you could not bind a rear guard, you draw one. So the extra draw is very big. You can literally just you can refund the draw by using your Edoga on your next turn. So it's literally ±0, I guess you could say. This guy is just good in general during your second turn, because chances are your opponent's not gonna have any rears on their board when you're going first. You just ride him, swing, they have to sack a 15k to no pass, and so that's a good thing. And then if they do give you that draw, it's either that draw is pretty massive and you just drew into like a given or something, or you drew into your right. You drew into your right, and his bind is also good, because his bind is just used during the mid to late game, because there's no way your opponent wouldn't have any rear guards during your late game and mid game. Okay, maybe mid game, but not late game, because you don't really have much binding in this deck except for himself, Blast Monk, Grey Dog, and Greyon. That's all. And there is one more that we play in our Grade 1 slot. But before we go into our Grade 1s, 3 Geo. Now this is very weird, and I've recently just got into these 10k vanillas because I somehow just really like them now. Yeah, what you do with them is literally just call them 10k with a sack of 15 to guard this man. And next turn, you just intercept. Easy. Because your hand sucks in deleters, deleters benefit from this guy a lot. I mean, like, would you actually play a Grade 1 on like front row and like 8k, and your opponent can literally just 10k guard, and that's how to stop a Grade 1. However, if you have this guy on field, you can literally swing to force out a 15, because magic number with Deletor Vanguard, and you can also intercept, and yeah, they're both 10ks. So yeah, playing him is extra good. However, you can play other Grade 2s. There's no denying that other Grade 2s can be pretty good in this spot as well, but I just decided to play the vanillas because they are pretty nice. For Gaian, and Gaian, you can replace Gaian, I'm not gonna lie. Like, most of the time, he's just gonna be a random vanilla, but I'm gonna go through his effect, which is, at the end of the battle, it attacked a Vanguard. So you attack with him first, and then you activate. So it's not a... So I guess it's good, because you're making use of one card before killing him. Retire this guy. Yes. Retire him, and discard one card from your hand. Draw a card. Choose one of your opponent's Grade 1 or lesser rear guards and bind it face down. So it has to be Grade 1 or lesser. So it's a bit restricted, but you get to recycle, which is nice in deleters, because like I said many times in this video already, your hand sucks. It really does suck. So having to cycle some cards is pretty nice, and you're killing this dude for like maybe like something good in your opponent's field, which like Grade 1s, like, I mean, like, you can literally snipe stuff like Twin Order in DP, which is like, it's probably that they're like most prized possession in their field, so you want to snipe those targets. And so next we play 2 I have no idea, higher deleter Fawon, I guess, and he literally just has a Rising Phoenix effect. Drop zone, when your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, you may call this to rear. So free call from drop, very nice. And then if you discard him with Edoga, you literally just discard and call him back, which is pretty nice. You literally just did nothing. You literally just counterblasted one and deleted your Vanguard without discarding any card. It's just straight up value with this guy. That's what I'm trying to say. 2 Destiny Dealer. Now you can play Opener of Dark Gates here. However, I think Destiny Dealer is better because he can use it on Vanguard. Basically his effect is on when placed, put the top card of your deck on rear as a locked card. So like if you're going first, you literally just pass turn and then it unlocks. Yeah, you basically get a free card, potentially a free grade 3 because of our 9 grade 3 deck. The 9 grade 3s in this deck. And his second effect is basically once per turn, Soul Blast 1, look at the top card of your deck and put it on rearguard as a locked card. So yeah, except when you use him as a rear, you have to Soul Blast 1. And again, this deck is not Soul Blast heavy, so you can use him every turn. But if you do use him every turn, obviously you're gonna run out of soul. And yeah, GG man. Next we play 1 Drown. I'm sorry. If you want to play 4 Drown, it's fine. Let's just read this back. When your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, put this card, put this unit into your soul. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards and bind it face down. Any rear guards. It's not like Guy where it has to be a grade 1. It's any. You can choose any. And then if you have no face up cards in your damage zone, counter charge 1. So the reason why I don't play 3 or heck even 2 of him is because yes, you get more soul, but again, like I said before, it's not soul blast. This deck's not soul blast heavy. And like the bind one is very big, I guess you could say, because again, this deck doesn't really bind much, even though you literally see quite a lot of cards binding. But the main reason why people even run him is because of his counter charge. Because this deck needs counter charge. And yeah, I don't think you will never really counter charge because you have to have all of your damage face down, and that should already be a red flag unless you really want to use your Blast Monk. Then yeah, I guess you could go for him. But he's only really mainly used to counter charge in your first grade 3 ride if you ride Greyon, because he does counter blast 2, and so you can refund his cost by using him. But other than that, the only value you really get from him is the retire. It's not retire, it's the bind. Next we play 1 Garnic. Auto and Van on rear. When its attack hits, or its boosted attack hits, a Vanguard Soul Blast 1, return one of your other rear guards to your hand. So yes, you can just place this down and then you can use his skill, Soul Blast 1, get him back to hand for your next grade 3 ride, and that's all you really want to use for him. Next, this is mainly a meta call, I guess you could say. Igelma to counter Luat. You can just read this effect. Basically, when any player, I don't think any player, I don't think Deletor searches their deck, so yeah, good for Deletors. Basically, when any player search their deck for a card from an effect, that player Soul Blast 1. And so up against Luat, haha, in your face, this guy is really good against Luat. You can play more of him, but your deck is literally just going to be filled with 6Ks, which is not going to be nice. Trigger lineup, we play 8 crit. Yes, 8 crit. How crazy are we to play 8 crit in Deletors? 4 draws, 4 heals. I don't think I have to say much about heals, but the reason why we're playing 8 crit and the reason why we're playing 2/2 of the Sentinels. First of all, just being able to guard huge attacks with just a 30k is nice. And but still, you still want to be using your PGs because your PGs is quite essential sometimes. Up against very huge attacks. You can just use him to 30k. And the draws are still very needed. And because this deck needs the draws. Or not, like, if this deck didn't need the draws, we would literally just play 12 crit, like Overlord, but this deck does need the draws. So we don't play 12 crit. That's basically the deck itself, but I'm gonna go through some options here. Duanilis, I guess you could call it. That's her name. Basically, if there's a total of 2 or more face down cards in any player's bind zone or circles, so like, I guess if you did bind your own rear guards, that would be nice, but you basically just like bind your opponent's rears to up to 2, not up to 2, at least 2, and then she becomes a base 20, which is very, very threatening. Before I played the vanilla, I used to play 3 of her. The next card we're gonna look through is Straight's Deletor Gay. Yes, he's gay. Also on Van or rear, when its attack hits, counterblast 1, discard 1 card from your hand, and when your opponent would normal ride during their next ride phase, they cannot ride unless they discard 1 card. And so this guy really reminds me of Roxas or Zambaku. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about him, because you're literally discarding 1 card for your opponent to discard 1 card. The good thing about him is that you can use him on turn 2, and your opponent has to guard. So if they don't guard, they're gonna discard card anyways. So like, he's alright, but it's like, why would you really play him? Like, you have better stuff like the vanilla. And next card is a great one, Gatario, TD card. On Van or rear, when it attacks a Van, if your opponent has 2 or less rear guards, he pluses 4k. And so, what's good about Gatario is that you can literally just swing for 12, very big, especially if you have a booster behind him. You're swinging for 20 on its own. On a force 1, you're gonna be swinging for 30, the 35k guard. Yes, not even the crit sentinel can save them at that point. But you do need to have your opponent at 2 or less rear guards though. So that's why he's not really that good. But this deck can pull that off. I bet this deck can actually pull that off. But you don't really want to run him, because like, unless you really need that 12k boom, you don't really need him, because the Geo is better anyways, because this guy forces 15k guard, this guy forces 15k guard. He cannot intercept, he can intercept. They're both 10ks. And so yeah. So that's the deck. That's all of the deck. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. I guess you could say enjoyed, but this is basically my thoughts. You could say my thoughts on this deck. And this is the deck profile itself. It's a good deck for beginners to play actually, and it's also a good deck for people interested in playing Deletors, because Deletors is pretty their playstyle is pretty interesting. They literally just power down your opponent's Van. And so yeah, if you want to run more Greydol, yeah sure, just get rid of your Greyons, or just play 3, like just play 3 if you really want to. You just play that lineup because it works. But anyways, that's the deck profile. See you next time.